Alright class, today we're going to cover the first part of our persuasive writing series for the STAR. And we're going to go over specifically the prompts and the thesis statement. So, obviously, the two most important items to decode in any STAR essay is the prompt itself and the thesis statement. So these things are the most important pieces. If you don't understand what you're writing about, you're not going to be able to create a strong thesis statement. You're not going to be able to create a strong paper. And if you don't create a strong thesis statement, then your entire essay is in jeopardy of going all over the place. You won't be able to have a main idea to latch onto, and that'll make you have a terrible grade on your paper. So let's begin. First of all, I have an example of an English 2 writing persuasive prompt. I'll read this all out loud to you, the entire thing. We have, read the following quotation. What I like about cities is that everything is king size, the beauty and the ugliness, by Joseph Brodsky. Although large cities are exciting places to live, small towns have their own special characteristics. Think carefully about this idea. Write an essay stating your position on whether it is better to live in a large city or in a small town. Be sure to state your position clearly, use appropriate organization, provide specific support for your argument, or choose your words carefully. Alright, so let's move on. So first of all, let's start with that box. Alright, so the box here, in this particular instance, is a lovely quote from the man named Joseph Brodsky. Now, the people that create the STAR test are not just throwing these things out here to be random. There's a specific reason for these things. Number one, it gives you some background information. Number two, especially if it's a quote, it usually helps for your supporting examples, for support of your essay. Because this can go both ways. I can use this quote to emphasize that living in a big city is a beauty. This beauty is king size. Or I can go on and talk about the ugliness of living in a big city is king sized. So this quote works both ways. So it helps for support on your main ideas. It provides background information, especially if it's a fact and not a quote. But the main thing you need to get out of the fact is that this box needs to be used in some form or fashion in your writing. Whether it's a direct quote, and you're going to explain that quote, or you're using it as an anecdote for your main idea. So let's move on. Now we have this next part right here. Typically, the way this is structured is it's called read, think, and write. So you read a statement, then you think about something, and then you write with the prompt. So the second part, although large cities are exciting places to live, small towns have their own special characteristics. Think carefully about this idea. So this is our thinking stage. When you're looking at this, you start thinking about, this is your chance to start going, alright, so which side is better? Small towns or big cities? So this is your time to brainstorm. Which one to me is better? In a small town, you have nature, typically. Small population leads to less traffic. Typically, typically less crime. Whereas living in a big city, you're around everything. So there's entertainment, there's food, all that good stuff. Around everything. There's a mixture of cultures. For those that are economically inclined, there's typically more jobs. So I'm looking at these two, and usually when you're doing this think carefully section, this is when you need to decide which side do you think you can stand on, which side do you think you have a stronger emphasis on. Alright, so we have that part. Then we have the most important part, As soon as you see this write, this lets you know this is the prompt. This is what you're going to be talking about in your paper. So this one, write an essay stating your position on whether it is better to live in a large city or small town. So you have to take this time to decode what is it saying. If it says something along the lines of stating your position, that lets you know for sure this is persuasive. You'll need to make a point and then try to prove why it's true. And they have this lovely weather here. So with that weather, it tells you it is better, so it gives you two options. Live in a large city or a small town. So you know what you're going to be writing about. That's not all you're going to use this for. Not only do you need this to know what you're going to be writing about, pretty soon, you're also going to need this to help you create your thesis statement. Alright, so keep in mind, once again, stating position lets you know that you're about to make a point, and then on whether it's better, and then it gives you the two options, better to live in a large city or small town. So they expect two options out of these things when it shows stating your position. But wait, there's more. They don't put this in here just to waste space. This is here for your benefit. This helps you with your organization, which is incredibly important. Think of this as a final checklist when you're writing. Once you finish writing your rough draft, make sure you take a look. Did you state your position clearly? So that means, do you have a thesis statement? That's what this means. Uh-oh. There we go. Sorry about that. So do you have a thesis statement? Use appropriate organization. We'll get into this more. So that means effective intro, body, and conclusion. Do you provide specific support? Do you have words that are persuasive words? That's what it means by choose your words carefully. Are your words persuasive? And then edit for writing, grammar. Edit your writing for grammar, mechanics, and spelling. That's the simple standard stuff there. Alright, so moving on. Let's take a look at a thesis statement. What is it and what are we looking for? So first of all, a thesis statement is your controlling idea. So it's the controlling idea. The purpose of this is it provides focus for your essay, tells the reader what you're going to be talking about. Now, a good thesis is threefold. Number one, it states the essay's topic and focus. That means you're rewriting the prompt and you're providing a specific point. So it lets the reader know what your paper is going to be focused on. Next up, it reflects the essay's genre. That means in this point, it is a persuasive paper, so your thesis is persuasive. You're giving a reason why you believe something, and then you're explaining why you believe it. Finally, a good thesis statement uses specific language. That means language that pertains to your type of essay, whether it's expository or informational, which is typically the same thing, or persuasive or narrative. It uses specific language. For this case, you'll be using specific persuasive language. Alright, so let's move on. So now for persuasive writing on STAR, it's not as hard or different compared to what you normally do, except they're looking for a few key things. Number one, you rewrite the prompt in your essay, your thesis statement. So you're rewriting words from the prompt, the main idea from the prompt, into your thesis statement. Number two, you're using the vocabulary necessary for good old persuasion. And most importantly, number three, because you only have 26 lines, that means your thesis statement has to be quick and to the point, and the rest of your paper has to be quick and to the point. You provide 2 reasons for your statement, for your position. So keep in mind, once again, for persuasive writing on the star, they're looking for you being able to prove you understand the prompt by rewriting it in your text. You use specific persuasive vocabulary, which we'll go over. You'll have a sheet soon. And you provide 2 reasons for your position that you will be explaining in your essay. So let's take a look at our first example. We're here up at the top is our prompt here. Write an essay stating your position on whether it's better to live in a large city or in a small town. So here's our first example. Today I'm writing about how living in a small town is better since you feel safe and nature is awesome. Well, was that good? No, not at all. Why? First of all, yes, does it reuse words from up here? Yeah, it does. It goes about living in a small town. It has the keyword better. So it has that, does it? Sure. Is it using persuasive language? Not really. Especially this phrase right here, which we see a lot, and it's common in writing. We see people stating that they're outright stating, I'm writing about this. No, you don't need to put that stuff there. Most importantly, we have 2 topics here. We have 2 reasons why. You feel safe and nature is awesome. Problem with both of these is they're not really too specific. They're very general. What does it mean by nature is awesome? What does it mean by you feel safe? What does that specifically mean? So why was it not good? Well, doesn't restate the prompt properly. And more important, your reasons or your support were too vague. Alright, so now let's take a look at our second example. Living in a small town is superior to living in a larger city because I don't know what happened here. Ooh, that was bad. You have more opportunity to enjoy nature, and you will live in statistically safer conditions compared to the large city. Period. So that should be the, not A. So what is so good about this one? Well, specifically, we start off with restating words from the prompt, living in and we make our position right away. Living in a small town is what? Is it better? No, it's superior. We're trying to use persuasive words. We're trying to use these stronger words instead of just better. We're going to use superior to living in a large city. And then notice this important word right here, your because statement. So this is what we're using in persuasive writing. Because you have more opportunity to enjoy nature. So there's reason number 1. It's more specific compared to nature is awesome. What about nature? Well, you have a more opportunity to enjoy it. And number 2, you will live in statistically safer conditions. That lets me know that I'm going to talk about very specific statistics. That means proof. I'm going to provide proof in my paper. If you use statistics, though, you better have actual statistics. You can't just make up numbers. But for the sake of this, we're going to pretend like we do have statistics. We do have the statistics. All right, so some things to remember. Number 1, all items from prompt serve a purpose. From the information in the box, which means that is information you can use in your own writing, to the think aloud, which helps you plan your writing, to the actual prompt itself. Number 2, the third piece of info is the actual prompt, is what you need to actually write about. Number 3, use that checklist. Number 4, a thesis statement needs to rewrite words from the prompt, be specific, and have two supporting reasons. So you use that because statement. I think this is, or this is better than this because, and that's how you do that. So, last but not least, just think of it this way. Be Batman, not Superman. Alright, see you in class tomorrow, and we'll start working on thesis statements in person.